For 7 years, Egypt produced abundant harvest just as Joseph had predicted. Joseph stored up huge quantities of grain in every city, like the sand of the sea. Then the 7 years of famine began. There was hunger in all the lands, but Egypt had food because of Joseph's wise preparation. The famine spread to Canaan, where Jacob and his family lived. When Jacob learned there was grain in Egypt, he said to his sons, "Go down there and buy grain so we may live and not die." So 10 of Joseph's brothers went to Egypt. But Jacob kept Benjamin, Joseph's younger brother, at home because he feared harm might come to him. Joseph was the governor who sold grain to everyone. When his brothers arrived, they bowed down to him with their faces to the ground. This fulfilled Joseph's childhood dreams, though they didn't realize it. Joseph recognized them immediately, but they didn't recognize him. He was now clean-shaven like an Egyptian, dressed in royal clothes, and it had been over 20 years since they sold him as a slave. Joseph decided to test his brothers to see if they had changed. Speaking harshly through an interpreter, he said, "You are spies. You have come to see where our land is weak." They protested, "No, my lord. We are 12 brothers, sons of one man in Canaan. The youngest is with our father, and one is no more." When Joseph heard them mention the brother who was no more, his heart stirred. They were speaking of him. Joseph put them in prison for 3 days. Then he said, "Do this and you will live, for I fear God. Let one brother stay here in prison while the rest take grain home. But you must bring your youngest brother to me to prove you are telling the truth." The brothers said to one another, "Surely we are being punished because of our brother Joseph." Though they didn't know it yet, the harsh Egyptian ruler was actually their brother, testing them to see if they had changed. "We saw how distressed he was when he pleaded with us, but we wouldn't listen. That's why this has come upon us." They didn't know Joseph could understand them. Joseph turned away and wept. Then he had Simeon taken and bound before their eyes. Joseph ordered their bags filled with grain and secretly put each man's silver back in his sack. The brothers loaded their donkeys and left. That night one opened his sack and discovered his silver. "My silver has been returned," he cried. Their hearts sank and they trembled, saying, "What is this that God has done to us?" When they reached home, they told Jacob everything. As they emptied their sacks, each man found his silver. They were terrified. Jacob cried out, "You have deprived me of my children. Joseph is no more, Simeon is no more, and now you want to take Benjamin. Everything is against me." Reuben said, "You may put both my sons to death if I don't bring Benjamin back." But Jacob refused. "My son will not go with you. His brother is dead and he is the only one left. If harm comes to him, you will bring my gray head down to the grave in sorrow." Jacob could not bear to lose Benjamin, Rachel's only remaining son. The brothers' guilt over selling Joseph still troubled them 20 years later. It also reveals God's perfect plan. Joseph was exactly where he needed to be to save his family during the famine. Though they didn't know it yet, the harsh Egyptian ruler was actually their brother, testing them to see if they had changed. This story shows how past sins can haunt us years later. The brothers' guilt over selling Joseph still troubled them 20 years later. It also reveals God's perfect plan. Joseph was exactly where he needed to be to save his family during the famine.